Welcome to the latest edition of this Warship TV review, with this edition dedicated to capturing the very latest naval action, highlights and movements as filmed by the Warship TV film crews nationwide. So please sit back and relax as we see some of the highlights coming up in this edition. We start our review with some scenes of HMS Portland, a Type 23 frigate, as she passes Plymouth Hoe on the way into Devonport while she was carrying out family day duties on the 7th of July. It was indeed a change of scene for the Devonport-based frigate, which the previous month had been engaged in duties shadowing a Russian task force whilst going through British waters. Built by Yarrow shipbuilders on the Clyde, Portland was commissioned into the fleet in May 2001 and is now the second youngest Type 23 frigate. And after her extensive 3-year LifeX refit at Devonport, she will be able to continue serving the fleet until the mid-2030s, when she will be replaced by the new Type 26 and Type 31 frigates. The Type 23 frigates are 436 feet long and have a displacement of some 5,400 tons. They are powered by 4 Paxman Valenta diesel generators with 2 Rolls-Royce Spey gas turbines, producing just over 31,000 horsepower, which allow these impressive frigates to reach speeds in excess of 28 knots. As part of her LifeX refit, Portland was fitted with a new Artisan 3D radar, as well as vastly improved air defence capabilities provided by Sea Scepter missiles. These replaced her previous Seawolf and now give a range of in excess of 25 kilometres. In addition, she is also fitted with anti-ship harpoon launchers, as well as anti-submarine Stingray torpedoes. With the decommissioning of HMS Monmouth and Montrose and the future of HMS Westminster uncertain, the Royal Navy currently has 10 Type 23 frigates, with the 5 oldest now being classified as general purpose frigates. Now over 30 years old, these older frigates operate in the general purpose role and are scheduled to be replaced by the much larger Type 31 and Type 32 frigates from 2027 onwards. Oldenburg was launched in June 2007 and commissioned into the German fleet in January 2013 and has a displacement of 1,840 tons and with a length of 292 feet and a beam of 43 feet. They are similar in size to the Batch 2 River-class offshore patrol vessels of the Royal Navy. On the 6th of July, one of the German Navy's K-130 class of corvettes, FGS Oldenburg, visited Devonport during Fleet Officer Sea Training, and we see the corvette as she passes through the Narrows and approaches Devonport. But unlike the River class, the German corvettes are fitted with a small hangar that, although too small for standard helicopters, is large enough for Sea Kings, Lynx or NH-90s, the helicopters as used by the German Navy. Currently, a further 5 of these corvettes are planned, with the latest of the fleet, FGS Colne, currently undergoing sea trials and due to enter service in 2025. These versatile ships are powered by 2 MTU 20-valve diesel engines with twin propellers, meaning they can reach speeds of 26 knots and have a range of 4,000 nautical miles. HMS Scott returned to Devonport at the end of July, having spent the last 12 months at sea mapping a 500,000 kilometre section of the North Atlantic, an area the size of Spain, using her specialist sonar equipment which scanned the ocean floor to a depth of over 3,000 feet. Based at Devonport, Scott is the 3rd vessel to carry the name and is named after the famous Plymothian and Royal Navy officer Robert Falcon Scott, who led the expedition to the Antarctic in 1912. With a displacement of almost 15,000 tons, Scott is the largest vessel in the Royal Navy's hydrographic squadron, but is also the 5th largest vessel in the entire fleet, after the Queen Elizabeth carriers and Albion-class amphibious assault vessels. HMS Scott is the only ocean survey vessel in the fleet, and at 15,000 tons is the largest survey vessel in Western Europe. Powered by twin Krupp MAK 9-cylinder diesel engines, she is fitted with a single shaft and controllable pitch propeller, together with a retractable bow thruster, and her twin Krupp engines give her a maximum speed of some 18 knots. Having spent the last few months in British waters, we see HMS Protector as she leaves Devonport on the 31st of July whilst taking part in Fleet Officer Sea Training prior to deploying later in the year. Protector is the Royal Navy's only ice patrol ship, and for almost 11 months of the year is normally deployed in the waters of Antarctica and the Southern Hemisphere. Protector was built in Lithuania and was launched on the 21st of July 2001, and originally operated as a Norwegian polar research icebreaker and subsea support vessel, receiving the name Polar Bear. In 2011, she was chartered by the Ministry of Defence as a short-term replacement for HMS Endurance, and this arrangement eventually led to her being purchased by the MOD for the Royal Navy. Today, HMS Protector is based at Devonport, together with the Royal Navy's other survey ships, but she remains the Royal Navy's only ice patrol vessel and is able to glide through ice up to half a metre thick. Protector has a displacement of 5,000 tons and is 292 feet long, with a beam of 59 feet and a draft of 27 feet. She is powered by two Rolls-Royce Bergen BR8 engines, which generate 4,741 horsepower and give her a maximum speed of 15 knots. She is also equipped with a Rolls-Royce controllable pitch propeller, as well as bow and stern thrusters. When deployed, Protector operates a number of boats and landing craft, including a survey motorboat and a rigid workboat, as well as two Pacific 22 ribs. Built with a helicopter pad as well, she also carries 3 all-terrain vehicles and quad bikes and trailers for moving equipment and stores in Antarctica. For a research vessel, she is also well armed, equipped with 4 miniguns and 5 general-purpose machine guns. USS Mesa Verde departed from Norfolk Naval Base in Virginia on July the 10th and made a visit to Plymouth and Devonport Naval Base at the end of July, and we see her as she leaves Devonport, passing Mount Wise as she heads out to sea. Mesa Verde is a member of the United States Navy's San Antonio class of amphibious transport dock warships, and was launched in November 2004 before being commissioned on the 15th of December 2007. Based at Norfolk Naval Base in Virginia, she is currently deployed with the United States Naval Forces in Western Europe. These ships have been designed to equip the United States Navy with a modern and versatile sea-based amphibious transport vessel that can operate with a variety of equipment, including the MV-22 Osprey aircraft and air-cushioned landing craft, or LCACs. With a displacement of 25,000 tons, she is some 684 feet long and is 105 feet wide, and normally carries 4 Seahawk or Nighthawk helicopters, as well as 2 MV-22 Osprey tilt rotor aircraft. And on this occasion, as she leaves Devonport Naval Base and passes Mount Wise, on her deck are visible some MV-22 Osprey aircraft. Twelve ships of the class were originally envisaged, but as of 2023 this has been increased to a fleet of 26 ships, and currently the US Navy has 12 of these vessels in service, with a further 2 being fitted out or under construction. Amphibious assault vessels, such as the Mesa Verde, really are the Swiss Army knife of the United States Navy, as in addition to the assault role, are capable of carrying sailors and marines to the danger or disaster zone in times of emergency. Her loading dock is packed with the equipment that her crew need to carry out those duties, which include emergency and food supplies in time of disaster relief operations. On the 4th of August, Harland Point visited Devonport Naval Base in Plymouth, Having sailed from La Pallice, the commercial deep water port at La Rochelle in France, we see the Point-class vessel as she passes Devil's Point and enters Devonport. Harland Point is one of 4 Point-class roll-on roll-off sealift ships that are currently used by the Ministry of Defence under a private finance initiative as a result of the Strategic Defence Review, where these large vessels were made available as naval auxiliaries to transport military cargo. Harland Point was built by Harland and Wolff in Belfast and commissioned on the 11th of December 2002. She has a displacement of some 23,000 tonnes when fully loaded and is some 633 feet long and has a beam of 85 feet with a draft of 24 feet. Powered by 2 MAK diesel engines that generate 21,700 horsepower to her twin propellers, this gives her a top speed of 21.5 knots and a range of some 9,200 nautical miles. Apart from the Tide-class fleet tankers of the Royal Fleet Auxiliary, since the scrapping of the Invincible-class carriers and the sale of HMS Ocean to Brazil, these ships, with a displacement of 23,000 tonnes, are now amongst the largest military vessels to visit Devonport. These ships were the direct result of the 1998 Strategic Defence Review and have been designed specifically to transport military cargo. They have space for 8,000 tonnes of vehicles, equating to 130 armoured vehicles and 60 trucks and ammunition. They are able to carry up to 4 helicopters, including Chinook, Apache, Merlin and Wildcat helicopters. The vessels are under a 22-year contract with the MOD and Forland Shipping, who own and operate them, with a small British crew, who are required to be sponsored reserves, meaning that the crew and vessel can be called up to become part of the military during times of conflict. The current contract between the MOD and Forland Shipping expires in 2024, and this could lead to an extension of the current contract until at least 2030, or other commercial options might be explored. So at the moment, the future of these vessels with the military is far from certain. On the 15th of September, HMS Frigate Nansen of the Royal Norwegian Navy made a visit to Plymouth in connection with Fleet Officer Sea Training. The leadship of her class, these frigates are the principal surface warships of the Royal Norwegian Navy, and we see her as she heads into Devonport Naval Base in Plymouth. Originally a fleet of 5 vessels, sadly sister ship Helga Ingstad was decommissioned and sold for scrap after sinking during a collision with an oil tanker in November 2018 that crippled the ship. The ship's propulsion is provided by combined diesel and gas turbines and a General Electric gas turbine for high-speed running, in combination with 4 MTU diesel generators, which give these ships a range of some 4,500 nautical miles and a maximum speed of some 27 knots. These impressive-looking warships, although classified as multi-role frigates by the Norwegian Navy, are considered by their officers as destroyers due to their size and role, and have a displacement of 5,290 tons, making them similar in size to the new Type 26 frigate currently being constructed for the Royal Navy. Originally these frigates were intended as a much-needed replacement for the ageing Oslo class from the mid-1960s, but their original purpose as anti-submarine frigates has now been developed to provide additional anti-aircraft defence. The decision by the Norwegian government to use the Spanish shipbuilder Bazin as the chief contractor has led to these vessels being almost identical to frigates constructed for the Spanish Navy. The result has been that these warships are some 35 metres longer and have a hull that is 2 metres deeper below the waterline than their Oslo-class predecessors from the mid-1960s. This has resulted in a frigate that is 5 metres wider than the old ships, and at 5,300 tons have a displacement that is almost 3 times that of the old Oslo class.